Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. I'm Chimobi Walter Naji. Glad you could join us. Let's take the headlines. In frantic move to restore democratic rule in Mali, ECOWAS delegation meets Imo State President Keita and military junta. Historic causes, methods and consequences of slave trade in focus as world remembers the inhuman act. And now the details of the news. As delegates from the West African grouping ECOWAS met Mali's Imo State President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita and members of the country's military junta on Saturday in a bid to push for a speedy return to civilian rule following a coup in the troubled nation. 3 members of the group delegation headed by former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan were granted access to Keita. Former President Jonathan told newsmen after seeing Imo State President Keita late Saturday that the negotiations are going on well. The meeting between the Imo State Malian leader and the 3 ECOWAS delegation members was held at an undisclosed location. No details of the meeting were released. Earlier Saturday, ECOWAS envoys met with Mali's military junta, including new strongman Colonel Assimi Goita. The meeting lasted half an hour. In the meantime, the United Nations International Day for the Remembrance of Slave Trade and its Abolition is observed to reawaken the consciousness of people on the dangers and effects of slavery in Africa and, by extension, the world. Annie Daniels in this report takes a look at the inhuman trade and the present form of slavery.
These relics here depicts the era of slave trade in Nigeria. Among names that stood out in that era was Seriki William Sabaz, a slave merchant, though originally from the present Ogun State. Seriki Abbas ended up spending most of his lifetime in Badagry, a town synonymous with slave trade. It was an era where about 17 million people were transported against their will from Africa to North, Central and South America. This illicit trade lasted from the 16th to 19th century. Millions of Africans died while being transported to other countries. My respondents say it was the worst violations of human rights.
All those empires, they are kings, they are monarchs. They will arrange for war to go and fight against the neighboring community. And so they will capture all their young people and they will sell them to the Europeans for exchange of things like a bottle of gin or mirror.
And it's lesser with Bishop Ajayi Crowder. They stopped the slave trade. Because why? It says that, Nigerians, a lot of injustice is happening.
More disheartening, they say, is that this illicit and inhuman trade still exists even among Africans.
There is what we call neo-colonization. So those who introduced slave trade have reintroduced it again.
Are you talking about human trafficking? This is modern slavery. It's not the transatlantic slave trade. The modern slavery is about us. We have law that guide us, but we didn't follow the law.
It's very unfortunate that women see themselves as the weaker vessels. So they look at it like, I can use my body to get whatever I want, and that's why it's easy for them to become easy prey to these traffickers.
Human trafficking is modern day slavery. Human trafficking ensures that you lose all your rights as a person. All the dignity is lost. The human trafficker does not have a sense of proportion to say, look, I have suffered this person enough. No, look, they use you. After a point, you are sold off to another person.
They suggest the way out.
Parents be close to their children, so they won't hide anything from them.
We are telling people, be careful, be aware. Again, you see people saying, we'll give you a job of 300,000, 250,000 in United Arab Emirates. Watch it. You that you are talking of going to United Arab Emirates to work, what are your certifications? What certificates do you have? What are your competencies? We have had issues of people who cannot even write their names, and they're saying they're going to work. So what work are you going to do?
The theme for this year is confronting slavery's legacy of racism together. In previous years, the day was celebrated with people all over the world coming together to organize events that centered on the theme of the day. However, the COVID-19 has put a stop to all that for now. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
From Lagos, we move over to southeast Nigeria, where in an effort to sustain the peace and unity of the country, the Imo State Governor, Hope Uzodinma, has stressed the need for religious tolerance. He made this known at a meeting with the leadership of the Christian and Muslim associations in the state. Bright Abuja reports.
Meeting with the leadership of the Christian and Muslim community is part of effort by the Imo State government to ensure peaceful coexistence among farmers and herders in the state. Governor Hope Uzodinma, while addressing the leaders, notes that the misunderstanding which usually leads to clashes between the farmers and herders results from communication gap, hence the need for constant interface. He assures that a committee will soon be set up to handle religious matters in the state.
We are really committed as a government to protect the rights of citizens in Imo State. We are committed as a government to encourage our brothers and sisters to worship God without the fear of molestation by anybody.
The Imo State Chairman, Christian Association of Nigeria, Divine HSC, and Chief Imam, Owerri Central Mosque, Suleiman Njoku, assured the governor of their commitment to ensuring peace and harmony among farmers and herders in the state.
You spoke with me in a way and manner that you want the church and every other person in this state to live as brothers, and you want to present a peaceful state.
Our prayer with my imams and all the religious leaders here is to see that you go further and exhibit this type of leadership you are exhibiting in Imo State today.
In Owerri, Bright Abuja, NTA News.
And the World Health Organization issues guidance on masks for children as South Korea faces resurgence of coronavirus cases. Let's now join Joyce Ometo for a review of the pandemic.
In the outgone week, Nigeria saw an upsurge in the number of new coronavirus cases reported daily compared to the decreasing trend seen in the past 1 month. Latest statistics released by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control shows that cases have reached 51,905, with 997 fatalities recorded. A review of the figures indicates that there have been a consistent increase in Nigeria's COVID-19 recovery rates as the number of patients treated and discharged now stands at 38,767. The country now has 12,141 active cases of coronavirus. In Africa, a total of 1,184,253 cases have been recorded, with 27,659 fatalities and 903,534 recoveries. Worldwide, numbers by Worldometer as at 6 p.m. show that the global death toll from COVID-19 has exceeded 800,000. So far, 23,457,548 cases have been confirmed. Infection figures globally rose by 1.7 million, while more than 39,000 fatalities were recorded in 7 days. Meanwhile, as pupils in some parts of the world return to school, the World Health Organization has issued guidance on masks for children. The guidance says children aged 12 and above should wear masks to curb the spread. Ages 6 to 11 should also wear masks, but with adequate adult supervision, while children aged 5 years and below should not be required to wear masks based on the safety and overall interest of the child. In other developments, Korea's Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has warned that South Korea is on the brink of a nationwide outbreak following the highest daily number of coronavirus cases recorded since March. And that's it from here. I am Joyce Ometo.
Thank you very much, Joyce. And moving on now, the coronavirus pandemic has wreaked havoc on most aspects of human life. The impact on education is even more visible as classrooms and the nation's universities remain closed since the advent of the pandemic. While many private universities managed to find a way around the problem through e-learning platforms, the public university system has virtually crumbled under the weight of COVID-19. Kelvin Eonaye reports on why e-learning remains a tall dream for public universities in Nigeria.
COVID or no COVID, the clock, they say, does not stop ticking. Why then should learning stop because of the pandemic? This is the propelling factor that made many private universities seamlessly moved their classrooms online as COVID-19 forced institutions to close shops. They are not only carrying on with teaching and learning, many have conducted examinations using relevant e-learning platforms.
We concluded our semester and then commenced the next one, which we are at now. And so it didn't disrupt our services at all.
If it is working for private institutions, why are the public universities struggling to adopt the same method, despite the Minister of Education's directive to vice chancellors to continue teaching online?
The infrastructure that lead to this digital technology we're talking are not even present in the federal universities. We talk of computer, we talk of even as small as Wi-Fi in the system are not there.
In Nigeria, we have a special case in the sense that, you know, we have our academic staff that are continuing to, you know, negotiate with government. So many of them are not working correctly because they're on strike. So that, I know, is one of the reasons many universities have not been able to do it.
Because COVID caught everyone unawares, it may take some time for authorities to provide the needed ICT infrastructure for e-learning, as well as training of lecturers who will deploy the technologies. But experts are confident that in the short run, they can leverage on the available distance learning facilities and still keep the integrity of their examinations intact.
There is a camera from your laptop directly on your face. If you move, in fact, there will be an alert to shut down that exam immediately.
No one is sure when COVID-19 will end. So, until a suitable solution is found to sustain learning in the public university system, the fate of their students will continue to hang in the balance. In Abuja, Kelvin Eonaye, NTA News.
And Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, has described as invaluable the benevolence of the economic community of West African states in donating about 4,000 metric tons of grains to Nigerian government to cushion the effect of the coronavirus pandemic. The minister stated this while receiving the food items in Kano. Yahanasu Hassan Barrow reports.
Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development once again thank the ECOWAS Commission for the timely and generous provision of humanitarian assistance for distribution to the vulnerable impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria.
That was the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, expressing appreciation to the ECOWAS Commission for donating about 4,000 metric tons of grains to Nigerian government. She said, with what the federal government has been doing to support internally displaced persons and those affected by the coronavirus pandemic, this support will no doubt assist in reaching out to more beneficiaries. ECOWAS Commissioner for Agriculture, Environment and Water Resources, Sangare Seku, described the donation as a breathing solidarity mechanism and pledged the ECOWAS' continued commitment to complement the present administration drive to promote agriculture.
The ECOWAS is engaged to continue this operation because it's very, very important for our responsibility.
Also in attendance to receive the benevolence were the Ministers of State for Foreign Affairs, Zubairu Dada, and that of State for Agriculture, Mustapha Baba Shehuri. In Kano, Yohannes Hassanbaro, NTA News.
All right, this is still the news on NTA International. We'll take a break now. More stories when we return. Stay with us.
Nigerians, let us take responsibility. Stay healthy, stay safe, and curb the spread of the virus. Take responsibility. The coronavirus spreads from one person to another. Let us avoid crowd gathering of any kind for any reason. Take responsibility. Avoid traveling from one state to another during these lockdown restrictions. Obey all the rules that are put in place. Take responsibility. Stop spreading fake news and unverified reports about the coronavirus. There is no known cure for COVID-19. Take responsibility. Observe all the measures that can help stop the spread of the virus. Together, we can do this, but only if we take responsibility. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
All right, thank you very much for joining us again. Coalition of Youths in Nasarawa State wants to promote welfare and income generation amid ease of lockdown from COVID-19 pandemic. Details with Aliu Tijani Muhammad from Lafia.
The summit brought youth together to discuss their challenges and prospects towards contribution to nation building. It is also to discuss ways of ending violence and crimes in society. They also expressed the desire to be innovative in creating jobs rather than waiting for what is often referred to as white-collar jobs.
We believe that if the right steps are taken and the right actions are implemented, young people would turn the tide.
This target group really need to be empowered, really need to build their capacity to take the lead.
Government of Nasarawa State says the huge population of youth in the state cannot be neglected as various initiatives are being worked out to provide the enabling environment for job creation.
This administration places high premium on youth development and empowerment as a prerequisite for wealth creation towards national growth and progress.
The government lauded the contribution of development partners on programs that are aimed at building capacity of youth in Nasarawa State. In Lafia, Aliu Tijani Mohammed, NTA News.
And back here in Abuja, the FCT Minister of State, Ramatu Tijani Aliu, has unveiled the cash for trash recycling hub in Nyanya under the Abuja Municipal Area Council as part of measures to control indiscriminate waste disposal in the territory, an initiative of the West Africa and the FCT Satellite Towns Development Department. Mariam George Jitabo has the report.
Project that will give you your trust in exchange for the world.
While unveiling the project, the Minister of State, FCT, Ramatu Tijani Aliu, noted that the scheme is aimed at promoting a healthy environment as well as erosion control, stressing that empty containers thrown into drains has been one of the major factors contributing to flooding in some parts of the territory.
The eras of sitting down or loitering is gone. The Federal Capital Territory Administration partnering with all these bodies and more to ensure that you can pick some litter and get some money.
The convener of West Africa, Funto Barufi, says Abuja lacks recycling plants, hence the need to introduce it in the nation's capital, like most cities in the country.
As a company in our footprint, one of the most fundamental objectives we have for 2020 is to reduce the carbon imprint in what we produce. And some years ago, we invested in supporting recycling of our PET bottles.
He revealed that with support from the FCT administration and relevant partners, West Africa was able to establish 7 recycling hubs in the nation's capital. Mariam George Jitubo, NTA News.
In a related development, the Minister of State, FCT, Ramatu Tijani Aliu, has flagged off the 2020 tree planting campaign in Karshi under the Abuja Municipal Area Council. The minister said the campaign is to create awareness amongst citizens on the need to sustainably manage forests for the purpose of meeting the developmental needs of the present generation without jeopardizing the opportunity of the future generations. Mariam George Jitubu has a report again.
The Minister of State, FCT, Ramatu Tijani Aliu, said the administration is working on a number of policies to enhance the protection of the territory's tree stock, adding that efforts are also being expanded to promote the wide adoption of climate-friendly practices in the nation's capital.
The SDGs goals 13 and 15 of the SDGs require all sundry to take urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts, and protect, restore, promote sustainable use of terrestrial ecosystems.
Tree planting is an exercise that must never be ignored, particularly now that we are facing serious calamities that has to do with flooding.
The minister called on other relevant departments to, as a matter of urgency, join hands with the Satellite Towns Development Department, STDD, in the revegetation of all open spaces, degraded hilltops and hill slopes, and to reclaim old borough pits as well as rivers and flood-prone areas to prevent and mitigate adverse environmental consequences in satellite towns. The acting coordinator of FCT Satellite Towns Development Department, Engineer Felix Nwako, identified the environment as an asset to the present and future generations.
Trees in an environment are known to enhance the supply of oxygen to the atmosphere, which serves as immunity booster to citizens, thereby reducing the expected susceptibility to COVID-19 fatality.
The minister revealed that the administration is also investing in the adoption of solar lighting to illuminate streets in the satellite towns. Mariam George Jitubo, NTA News.
And now the proliferation of online pharmacy prescription services is seen as pointed to another dilemma that seems set to become more prevalent. The disturbing trend is such that the World Health Organization has alerted its member states on the need to tighten control on sale of pharmaceuticals and other medical products through the internet. Here's a report.
As regulated products, ethical issues in access to medicines is considered very critical.
If I'm sick, I go to a certified physician, go to the hospital, and the doctor will prescribe drugs for you, and you go to the pharmacy and get it.
Let me say that dispensing, offering for sale of pharmaceutical products done within a pharmaceutical premises. This is a peculiarity of the pharmaceutical business. They must be conducted within the premises which has been inspected, approved, and licensed by the Pharmacists Council of Nigeria. Secondly, the products must be registered by NAFDAC.
Available evidence, however, shows that the number of online stores offering medicines for sale to the public over time has increased, with many of the stores ready to deliver their drugs to buyers in their homes.
I've come across it online. They tell you buy food supplement, buy these drugs for this, buy this drug for that. It cures this. Some will even tell you go as much as far as you buying a drug that cures 10 different ailments. I'm of the opinion that the government should see how they can wage into it to stop such. Buying drugs on the internet is not a good one.
This pharmacist oversees a registered pharmaceutical premises, but his view is a bit tilted toward the other side.
Because of the pandemic, patients cannot see the doctors, so how can they get these drugs is the big question. So if they can do more of online prescriptions of drug, it's going to go a long way.
But the council frowns at it.
If they can look into the matter and see ways of establishing these online prescriptions, it's going to go a long way, especially for the benefit of the patients.
There is no law that guides online
marketing of products.
Yeah.
What we have is a violation as regards the drug itself, which they sell online.
There are, however, indications that the narrative is about to change.
We have actually written to the Minister for Communication and Digital Economy in order to get the assistance of the various parastatals under that ministry in terms of computerization, so that this thing will be reduced to the barest minimum.
In the field of pharmacy, quality control and quality assurance are considered vital to the development, manufacturing and use of drugs meant to help save lives. In Abuja, Rabi Abdullah, NTA News.
In sports, Plateau United planning for CAF Champions League, as Amanzi Marcos reports.
The club general manager Pius Henwan revealed they have decided to retain coach Abdul Maikaba for the next 2 years as part of plans to reach the semi-finals of the CAF Champions League. The general manager disclosed that 6 experienced players have been signed. Meanwhile, Ukraine's Diana Yastremska defeated Venus Williams 5-7-6-2-7-5 in the opening round of the Western and Southern Open at Flushing Meadows in New York. Andy Murray marked his return to the ATP Tour with a 7-6, 3-6, 6-1 victory over Francis Tiafoe, the American, also in round 1, and all in preparation for the US Open. President of World Athletics Sebastian Coe believes some cases of young athletes switching allegiance between countries before a rule change in 2019 was close to human trafficking. Without mentioning any particular country, Coe pointed out he had become increasingly concerned about young athletes moving away from their home countries, often without parental support, hence his decision to stop the practice. The new rule prevents anyone below the age of 20 from changing allegiance and also demands athletes prove their ties to their new nation after a 3-year waiting period. With sports update, Amanzi Marcus, NTA News.
And that sports brings us to the end of the news. Remember to connect with NTA and stand against rape and rape.